What's up, weebs? Welcome back to Anime Lane, the podcast where we take you down the yellow brick road of anime and have a look at everything it has to offer. As always, I'm your host, Notorious, and joining me once again today is Shaun.
Hi.
And Melina.
Hi.
If I did not jump in at that point, I don't think we'd ever got out of the preamble, to be honest.
Fair.
The fuck are we doing?
So, this is just another chat episode of Anime Lane,
Wow.
where we're going to talk about anything, really. I almost said the fucking Napcast description there, where we talk about anything and everything, a little bit of everything and anything, which is hard to say out loud. Yeah, I mean, I kind of couldn't come up with anything like
I remember
unique for this.
in our meetings, you were like, "I'll figure something out."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Oh no."
I thought about some ideas, and then I kind of thought those are a little bit boring, like going through my list and picking like what I've ranked the lowest and kind of talking about that doesn't really make sense if you guys haven't seen any of them or don't have any context for it, so it's kind of just a little pointless to do that. I'm out of game ideas.
Aww.
So yeah, just chatting about random stuff, because I've been watching and reading some stuff recently, so I talk about that.
We'll react.
Yeah. So I'm not going to start off what I think you guys are expecting me to start off with.
Okay. I'm not expecting you to start off with anything.
I'm going to start off with a call to arms.
We're getting rallied?
No.
Oh my god, who's fighting who?
We've been drafted into the skeleton.
Oh my god. No, I'm not allowed. I'm a woman.
We have covered Mobile Suit Gundam before in the podcast, and it's
Yes, we
no secret that I am a big mech fan when it comes to anime.
No.
So for
What?
any other mech fans in the audience listening to this who aren't aware or haven't played it or whatever,
Armored Core.
go get Armored Core 6. Absolutely fantastic game. It is, on your first playthrough, excruciatingly difficult.
Oh, fun.
But when you get through it and then get into your second playthrough and you can basically power fantasy your way through it, it is so incredibly fun. I mean, the challenge of the initial playthrough is also very rewarding. Like finding the build that gets you to overcome the boss or whatever scenario you're in that you can't get past. When you finally find the build and get past it, that's just, I love that sort of thing in video games.
I know. For context, you were messaging me your entire journey throughout this game.
He got all 3 playthroughs. Well, actually, no, you got 2 playthroughs and then one where I messaged you 6 hours later and went, "Oh, I'm done."
Yeah. To be fair, at that point you'd sent so many paragraphs of stuff. I was just sort of thankful you just went dark for 6 hours. I'll be honest.
So it was, I think, my initial playthrough took me something like 19 or 20 hours to do.
I should state, by the way, I'm not annoyed by the fact you sent me this stuff. I'm annoyed by the fact I have nothing to really reply with.
That's fair.
Because I feel, because obviously I've not played the game.
No.
So I'm like, cool.
Yeah.
But I don't want to be like cool, like I don't care.
Yeah.
But just sort of nice.
I think we both know that when it comes to like stuff that we are both like particularly passionate about, where we just kind of go off on one. Like we don't necessarily need to respond.
Just acknowledge.
Just
Yeah. Give the thumbs up.
Yeah. So yeah, initial playthrough was like 20 hours, and some of that was just me smashing my head against the same thing over and over again until I won.
With one health point to spare.
That was my second playthrough.
That was your second playthrough.
Where I went in, so in my first playthrough I done adaptive builds. This is where I went through every mission with a kind of stock build that worked, and then I'd get to bosses and I'd have to mess with it to see what would work, whether depending on what the boss needed. Was it fast? I'm needing to match that pace. Is it slow but has a ton of health? I'm going to need something heavier. Do I need to constantly stagger it? I'm going to need something that's going to stagger it.
Recognize the problem, build a solution.
Yeah. So kind of working around that. And then the second playthrough for the chapter 4 boss, so there's 5 chapters. So the second last boss of the game, I was like recommended this certain build to beat it, because it's that fucking fast that if you don't have like a very particular build, you're fucked.
I love choices where you can pick any build, but all of them are shit except one.
Yeah.
It's like the stealth archer build.
So I kind of used that as a basis for what I was doing in the second run through. I changed the shotguns that were recommended to something a bit more usable, because they recommended one that was like a 16 shot, and it was like both hands, but you had to be like this, like fucking a centimeter away from your target to actually hit.
Get all up in their business.
Yeah.
Is the scientific term.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I picked one with like a little bit more range and a little bit more hitting power, and also less of a reload time, and basically used that build for the entirety of the second playthrough, and that just meant I was fucking stomping on everything.
Power fantasy.
It was very much power fantasy. Any boss would come up and it would just, I had these shoulder mounted stun needle launchers, which basically would max out anybody's stagger gauge.
Nice.
So the boss would start and it'd be like
Dead.
Staggered, assault bush straight up,
Fucking
shotguns,
efficient execution.
yeah. Boost around the back so that when they recovered, they didn't hit you.
Oh my, what a machine.
By the time they'd recovered, the stun needles had reloaded, so you just shot them again.
Nani?
More shotguns, and basically just keep circling them.
Oh, so the Dark Souls sort of strategy.
A little bit. So you just keep circling them, and every time something reload, just keep hitting them. Because the shotguns were that, like, up close, powerful, they would also come close to maxing the stagger gauge with, like, one hand. So you could two-hand it, and their stagger gauge was also done, which meant you were getting bonus damage from the stun needles by the time those reloaded and they were staggered. So yeah, I just done that for the whole playthrough.
Nice.
And then I got to my loathed and hated sea spider, which gave me so much grief in the initial playthrough, and basically was just like, I ain't giving him room to breathe, and was all up in his shit, firing everything off. Like, I had no tactic. I wasn't running with stun needles, shotguns, wait for reload, blah blah blah. It was fire, watch reloaded, fire, watch reloaded, fire.
PK fire, PK fire, PK
Because
fire.
His stagger gauge was really hard to fill with the stun needles, so I was like, just fuck it, whatever's doing something, I'm doing it. And eventually
hit the enemy weak point for massive damage.
So I'm just doing that, and I'm trying to kind of like keep close to him, and that was also kind of sometimes playing to my detriment, where I would get stomped on, and so I was taking like health hits a lot. And during the last third of the sea spider's health, it takes off into the air and becomes like a cannon type thing. And if you touch the ground, you're really highly likely to get shot. I had no health packs left. I had like a quarter health. I took a hit when I landed on the ground to recharge my energy, and I had 1 health point left. Because I had like a shield thing that would activate during near death. So that saved me. This guy had a quarter of his health left. He has like a ton of health. So I had to just boost up to him real close, and I somehow managed to take him down.
Yeah, you sent like a clip to me.
Yeah,
as well.
yeah, I have a clip of it. I'll maybe put it in the video and I'll show you during the break. But it was like the fight was over in 90 seconds. And it took me 8 hours the first time round, I think, collectively trying
Sounds
to beat
right.
it. But yeah, game's really fun if you play it through like the first 2 times to get both like the bad ending and the good ending. You then unlock a third route that you can play, which really massively changes the story.
You did say like the true ending. Is it the true ending?
Yeah, it's very
Felt more fleshed out than the
yeah.
other two. So
I think like in the way the game portrays things, and just sort of like the vibe of mech stuff in general, and the way that it has certain elements of certain mechs, other mech series in Japan, the true ending feels like how I sort of expected it to go.
okay.
I don't want to give any spoilers because I know the game's like fresh.
Yeah,
And
it's pretty new.
yeah, even when this comes out, it'll only have been like a month or so. So I don't want to give anyone
Because we're not
spoilers.
recording this months in
No.
advance.
I don't want to give anyone like a massive spoiler for it, because I know that even though I had a build that would steamroll like everything on both playthroughs during my New Game Plus runs, other people probably maybe aren't going to do that. Maybe they're looking for something a little bit more challenging, whereas I had done the challenge and I just wanted a power fantasy.
Yeah. You earned it.
I earned it, yeah. So yeah, if you like mech stuff and you want like a really like fleshed out and very smooth and satisfying mech game experience, I highly recommend Armored Core 6. I really want to go back and try some of the other Armored Cores because I've now finished 6, and there's part of me wanting to get the Platinum Trophy, but that requires S ranking every mission in the game, and that would be very time consuming.
Fuck that.
So I'm debating whether to do that or maybe look at getting like 5 for the PS3 or something like that and checking that out. But yeah, I really loved the game, and it's so far, I think for the year,
Game of the year?
contender.
Wow.
It's up there. It is. I've played a lot of video games this year. And that is up there. Definitely. It sucks that I had to play it during a heat wave because I'm pretty sure some of my mental states were directly affected by that game and the heat wave, which was not fun.
No, I can imagine.
I'm pretty sure I only found it as frustrating because of how hot it was.
That makes a lot of sense.
So yeah. That's my first part. Yeah, I played Armored Core 6, great game. Highly recommend it to anyone that's into that sort of thing. If you're into FromSoft games, I think there's enough DNA in there as well. Just don't go looking for a direct comparison between...
That a lot of people are doing.
Yeah, you know, it's similar but vastly different. You know, Dark Souls are usually big fantasy worlds with connected spaces, whereas Armored Core 6 is a true sci-fi dystopia thing with
mechs
and mission-based gameplay. So
yeah.
you know, don't go expecting Elden Ring. And then the other thing I've done recently is I watched the One Piece live action.
I almost completely forgot.
It came out August 31st, I think.
Roundabout, yeah.
So we're recording it like a couple weeks after it came out. So it'll be coming out about a month and a half after it comes out. I had a lot of mixed feelings in the run up to it coming out. I think as I made aware to you, and I kind of mentioned to you as well, Melina.
I think the nice way to say is you very much expected it to suck.
I expected it to suck. All the pre-release stuff didn't give a lot of hope.
It felt like a big reminder of the Cowboy Bebop live action.
Very much so. I think a lot of the trailers, they showed certain things that didn't necessarily reflect the show in its best light.
Okay.
I think they wanted to...
Low expectations. They're like, let's just show the worst stuff.
Don't think they wanted to lower expectations, but rather what they were showing was to try and set expectations that they were trying to be faithful.
I mean, that's...
which kind of worked as a counter thing on them because they were being faithful, but at the same time, out of context, Arlong, the character, looks goofy as fuck. So let me look up a quick picture.
I'm sure I've seen
of
him before, or like already, but I gotta see him again. There he is.
So the close-up's fine because it's all like practical makeup and stuff, but you see him in like a wide shot in the trailer holding a big sword. And I don't think I can find it here. It's in my phone somewhere, so maybe... Yeah,
because I think you sent it to me.
Yeah, oh wait, there it is. There it is. It's very dark because we have the sun shining on the screen right now. Look at that. His proportions look goofy as shit. The sword does not help.
Mum says it's my turn on the Xbox.
Yeah. And the cargo shorts don't help.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's the cargo shorts.
So... You know, stuff like that didn't set, you know...
He looks like a mutated Dipper Pines.
It didn't set, like, high expectations. Then we had the episode list, which kind of showed that they were adapting a lot for an 8-episode series.
It was like condensing, 40-odd episodes?
I think in the end it was around 40, 45.
Yeah.
Initial kind of off the episode list and off of, like... what we were being told, that there was a concern that they were actually going to do something close to 60 episodes. They were going to adapt like the whole East Blue saga in its entirety before they headed into the Grand Line. But no, they only done up to the end of Orange Town, which is when Nami officially joins the crew, so to speak. And I was surprised when watching it that it's good. It's
good.
Actually a very enjoyable adaptation. It's not perfect. I understand a lot of the changes they've made. East Blue is a bit of a bloated mess in terms of storytelling. It's also really heavy-handed in its exposition and setup. You have a lot of people talking about stuff and then people repeating in a
just
question,
make sure you know.
and then someone else, and then someone saying basically the same thing again, and it's all very clunky. It's all very early. I'm not really sure what I'm doing yet type thing. But no, the adaptation was good. It sort of got off to a weird start, opening with like a really extended sequence of like if anyone and listening to this has seen the anime, you know that the opening of the show We Are opens with like a narration of wealth, fame, power, gold. Rogers, King of the Pirates had attained this, and everything else the world had to offer.
Yayo.
Yeah, I'm not gonna do the whole thing. But essentially it builds up with like Roger saying, if you want my treasure, you can have it. I left it all together in one place, and then cue the whole thing about the Great Pirate Era. That's turned into like a 2 or 3 minute scene. It's a whole thing, and the Roger part is really cool. I think they nailed Roger's portrayal pretty well, except the fact that the wealth, fame, power part of the narration was given to him as dialogue, and it doesn't sit with his character for me, and it sounds really weird.
Very boastful.
Yeah, it's like, in the opening narration, it's almost like he was being put to the death, and rather than being asked for his last words, he just starts shouting, "You want my treasure? You can have it. I left it all in one place." And then in the show, it's like, "Do you have any last words?" And he's just like, "Wealth, fame, power. I've attained all of this."
You make it sound like it's like his villain monologue. This world is imperfect.
It kind of almost is, because he's just like, wealth, fame, power. I've attained this and and everything else that the world can imagine. And I'm like, what?
Some shit last words, my dude.
Bro, the sword's coming down. Can you hurry up a little?
They just let him say the whole thing, like, from wealth, fame, power up to all you need to do is find it. And when you give him that extra bit of dialogue, it's such a long string of words that I'm like,
halfway through he just gets like executed, and like they're just like, well, he's talking on, and we've all got places to be.
Just someone in the far back, get it fucking going.
I've got work in 5 minutes.
I think they basically extended it just so that they could do crowd shots to show like a bunch of the characters before we meet them.
I mean, it's good to introduce your characters before you
but
fully
the younger
introduce.
versions all look like goofy ass cosplayers.
So that when you fully introduce them, you can go, oh hey, it's that guy.
Yeah, pretty much. I think is for like first time viewers to kind of go, look, some of these guys are gonna look fucking goofy.
Yeah, we're not gonna acknowledge that they look goofy, so here they are.
Yeah,
get used to it.
You know what you're getting into.
You see a young Dracula Mihawk who, let me quickly pull him up. Not Mihawk, Mihawk live action.
Mohawk.
As this motherfucker. You can't see it, but he has like very yellow contacts.
Oh, okay.
Oh yeah.
I'm gonna be honest, my first reaction to seeing this is that's a very Spanish man.
Oh, he is very Spanish looking, yeah.
Yeah.
His sword is a
flamenco.
cross.
Of
His
course.
sword is a giant cross.
Yes. Fucking cool.
Look at like, this is a weird fan art, but that's actually the proportions.
He
Honestly,
reminds me of the
pulls it off.
Oh god, what's the name of the guy in the Hunger Games, the first Hunger Games, with the weird beard?
Know.
So there's a guy who runs the games. He's like, let's say manager.
Oh, presidents. No. Oh, no.
Oh, if I remembered his name, we could fucking. I want to say something Crane, I think.
Oh shit.
Funky beard guy. That's the only way I can describe him. But
shit.
Now we have to fucking find him.
That guy didn't have much of a funky beard.
Crane.
I think it's Crane. Yeah.
I don't know how to pronounce that.
Seneca.
Seneca Crane, yeah.
Yeah.
Lucifer.
He does have a similar vibe, yeah. I also think his whole spray on beard looks as goofy in that film.
Yeah. But it's very similar.
Yeah. But yeah, you see him slightly younger, so I don't think he has the.
He's clean shaven.
It's like a 10-year-old with the same beard.
It's a little kind of like he has the sideburns, I think. But yeah, you see close up, you see the contacts.
Weirdly, just imagining him with just the sideburns does look very anime to me.
Yeah. You also see, I think, Buggy.
That's a fucking
Who's
clown
right
there.
Yeah, Buggy, who a lot of people are simping over.
I think that's a
What?
Yeah.
I think that's a Joker variant.
Like
they kind of play him a little bit more Joker-esque in this series.
I can understand Beard Guy, but
I have seen like very few people simping over Dracula Mihawk,
But
I've seen
he's
lot
very
of
Spanish.
people,
Come on, he's made for it.
simping over Zorro, who I sent a meme about.
oh, for
and
fuck's sake, that's no.
I sent the video.
Okay, maybe it's because he's younger, and I don't know if the general audience for One Piece is younger, but maybe that's why.
Maybe I mean,
But then again, it hasn't stopped
some of it-
14-year-olds from obsessing over like Cumberbatch. At
Yeah,
40,
I
so.
think you maybe need to see him like actually playing the character because he's the
Maybe.
sort of like quiet, cool man of few words,
Edgelord.
edgelord.
Wait till he gets the eye scar.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right. That's probably never going to happen in live action.
Damn it!
Oh, come
But
on.
it looks so cool in that
But
one
it-
picture there.
So
Yeah,
mysterious
this
and
is
strange.
this is post time skip, so that's like 500 odd episodes.
Again,
I was
away.
gonna say
Like-
500 years. I was like, damn,
No.
looking good for his age.
So the original character has like almost neon green hair, and they're like, no, we're just gonna give it like a green
A
hue.
lot of these images are like they for some reason have the contrast like highly boosted, so it's green, but it's not like
Jared Leto Joker.
Yeah.
But I would also say this is one issue I ran across with the show is that I'm not a huge fan of the color grading.
You did say actually, yeah.
Because I mean, even look at Nami here. Like you can kind of see it on the shirt is that this isn't a perfect. They've gone for a warmer grade.
Yeah.
And I think it's a bit much sometimes.
Yeah, but in general, I think like color grading is such a useful tool, but it's, I don't want to say overused at this point, but it's overly saturated.
Yeah.
Like, I think they can be a bit more subtle with it. You know,
This
not,
is where
this
I
is
think-
Mexico, it's yellow. Like,
This is the thing where I've become confused with the show is that they've been so faithful, yet they've shied away from the like really poppy color of the show. Like, yeah, these are like that's highly a little bit oversaturated.
Yeah.
But this is kind of close, I'd say. In Wano, it's kind of green. You can kind of see that his skin's a little bright, but like
yeah.
it's poppy color, you know. And they've really shied away from that for some reason. I mean, look at that picture of him being fucking strapped up. There's like barely any color going on in this.
Yeah.
It's very sort of beige.
I
Yeah.
think it would just, maybe it would be too cartoony looking. Like, it's hard to take it seriously,
It's already
maybe.
fucking cartoony looking.
I mean, fair, but,
I mean,
you know.
Luffy's entire stretching thing, I feel.
that looks so weird.
I mean, I'm gonna be honest, in almost every sort of live action sense, the sort of stretch power sort of thing, like
You can
I
never
usually
get
think
it
of
to look
Fantastic
great.
Four, 'cause
Yeah,
obviously,
exactly.
but like that always looks at least a little goofy no matter what.
Yeah.
It's impossible to make stretching, a human stretching, look normal.
Yeah, like
I mean, look at him when he fucking blows himself up.
Oh my god.
even like Miss Marvel, like they had to like change her power look completely just to make it look not super. Jesus fucking Christ. He's a gumball man.
That's Gum Gum Balloon. He uses that to repel a cannon shot that comes in.
That's a Willy Wonka scene.
Yeah.
Just without the blue.
I think what they've sort of done with like some of the rewrite stuff they've done is tried to kind of take out the heavy usage of some of the weirder looking abilities that Luffy does, like the balloon, because he uses that a couple of times in East Blue, and obviously more and more as the show goes on. But there's only one usage of it in the live action, and I can
It's
get
good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Don't need to see it more than once.
Because I think it's a troubling thing. I don't know much about, adaptation and its rules and everything, but, certain things like, oh, he can balloon up. You might see that in over 40 episodes 4 times.
Yeah.
But in an 8-episode thing, to do it 4 times, it would be ridiculous.
Yeah.
You'd feel like, oh, again?
Yeah,
Like that's every other episode almost.
pretty
Yeah.
much.
You'd be done with it. So I understand that they're like, let's, the weird things we're really going to do once.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it's all people will talk about.
They've kind of truncated a lot of the fights, and like that makes sense because some of them in the manga go on far too fucking long.
Lots of anime.
They cut some of them out completely entirely, like when Mihawk shows up. He's part of the story arc where Sanji comes into the crew, and basically what happens is they go to a sea restaurant, like a boat restaurant type thing, and he's there. And this pirate shows up, and he's like on his, like, he's almost dead, and he's like wanting food, but because he can't pay the restaurant terms away, Sanji feeds him. He turns out to be part of a crew of like one of the meanest pirates in this area. He brings his captain back called Don Krieg, and they start attacking the restaurant type thing.
Yeah.
And Luffy gets in like a really extended fight with Don Krieg. Mihawk shows up, Zoro fights him, Zoro gets cut down and basically swears I'm never going to lose another fight again, blah blah blah.
Yada yada yada.
We'll meet again, Spider-Man.
Whatever.
I like the way they play the Mihawk Zoro relationship, because Mihawk and Zoro don't necessarily have like a bitter rivalry, but instead Mihawk sees a potential in him.
Okay.
And he's like, oh, come back to me when you're stronger, then we'll have a fair fight, because he sees
that other type of Pokemon rival.
He later goes on to train him as well, and in the later part of the series, like during the time skip, and he gets like the scar in his eye and stuff. Mihawk's training him.
That's nice.
Yeah, I like the kind of how they play on some of those expectations a little bit.
It's a rare rival dynamic that doesn't get explored as much as it should in media, just overall.
Yeah. So all of that's going on at the same time. Well, kind of the Mihawk thing comes in and disrupts it a little bit, and then he just kind of pisses off once he's cut Zoro.
Yeah.
And so then it becomes Luffy versus Krieg and kind of Sanji as well, and it goes on for something like 2 volumes in the manga, so like maybe 5, 6, 7 episodes or something at 20 minutes.
Yeah.
So it's a lot.
It is a lot.
And instead, what happens is when Mihawk shows up, is introduced, Garp, Luffy's granddad, who's a Navy admiral, calls him up because he's one of the pirates that helps the Navy. And is like, look, I need you to go find this pirate. He's meant to be at this restaurant. And he's like, hold on, I'm busy. And he just fucking kills Don Krieg.
One moment. You were saying?
Yeah, pretty much.
Hold on. Aye.
What was it you were saying?
And it's like, oh, a nice little acknowledgement of the character, but also he serves no fucking functions. So, yeah, kill him off. I'm happy with that. So yeah, like a lot of the changes I can get behind them, because they're basically streamlining a set of story arcs that I think, if you're new coming into One Piece, don't necessarily set the best impression of what the series becomes later, because it's not until they get into the Grand Line and you get into some of the longer storylines, and a lot of the characters kind of start being set up as more robust, you know, not just one-dimensional beings on a pirate crew.
Yeah.
Because when they're all introduced, it's, you know, Luffy's the captain, Zoro's the first mate / swordsman,
they fulfill
Nami's
a
the
role.
navigator, yep, Sanji's the cook, Usopp's the marksman, and that's kind of
their character.
Yeah, that's it until you hit sort of near the end of season 1, where they dig into Nami's backstory properly. And you kind of start to see, oh, okay, this is going for something a little bit more.
Are we developing the characters right now?
Well, they do massively develop Nami in that moment. In that Sorority arc, I should say, where they show, you know, why she is the way she is and all this sort of stuff, and how she has, you know, reservations about joining the crew and stuff. And so, like, that's, you know, interesting. But like I say, it's not until, like, much later that things really are kind of... I think that's the gripping point for most people, is Nami's backstory, and then it's everything else that keeps you sticking around.
All 1,000+ chapters.
Yeah, because it's like not long after, when they get into the Grand Line, you meet this giant fucking whale, and he turns out to be like an important character with like a really important backstory, and it's like,
Captain, there be whales
okay. Like, Luffy starts a rivalry with them over the fact that, like, he was left at the entrance of the Grand Line by the pirate crew that brought him in, to be like picked up when they came back, but it's like been 50 years, and he's so upset that he just keeps ramming his head against the mountains that at the start of the Grand Line.
I'm so angry.
And so this doctor's been like trying to like sedate him to keep him from doing that.
Calm down, man.
So Luffy just fucking rocks up and punches him. And is like, I'm pretty strong, ain't I? Just wait for me to come back. And it's like, oh, okay. Like, he doesn't care about the whale's backstory. He doesn't care what happened to the whale. He just like sees that it's upset and just immediately was like, fuck you, pay attention to me. keep your hope here.
Stop it. Get some help.
Because that's something I like in the live action that they kept, is that Luffy doesn't care and Luffy doesn't listen to anything.
Oh, nice.
Because as soon as
one brain cell.
Yeah, because it's like soon as Nojiko, Nami's sister in the series, starts like oh, I'll tell you guys about what happened here and why Nami is how she is. Luffy just walks away. He's like, I don't care. I ain't listening.
Not fair.
And it's not
seems
until
like
yeah, and it's like
this
later
isn't your problem. I don't
like
fucking care.
later he just comes across Nami like crying on the road, and he's like, and she just kind of turns to him and like asks for help, and he's like, okay.
Hi.
And it's such a nice moment because like they set up the fact that his straw hat, like the iconic thing about him, is like very special to him, and he doesn't like anyone touching it, and so he like puts the hat on Nami, and she just has the flashback to that moment, and she's like, oh shit. And yeah, you know, that's why it's like I think a hook moment for a lot of people.
Yeah.
Oh my god, we're friends.
You can kind of start to see the moments where Oda's trying to link up loads of different things. So yeah, live action adaptation did it well. I don't think it's like perfect. I think it's maybe a good introduction, but at the same time, there's a lot of stuff missing. So if you went directly into the manga,
you might be stuck.
Yeah, like if you just went straight into Logtown, the arc after the series ends, one Garp has not been introduced at that point. Kobe's story has not really been going on. And there's loads of other little changes that, like, if you just dumped straight into that, you'd be like, whoa, what the fuck is happening? So yeah.
It's difficult though, especially just adaptation, and I think especially for anime.
Oh yeah, it's basically never worked before. You can never
have 100%. Like,
no,
we got through everything we wanted, we did it well. It's impossible. Like, if I think of adaptations I think are very well done, it's like Lord of the Rings, shit like that. But you know, that's 3 books.
And it doesn't do everything in those 3 books.
No. And it doesn't even do anything.
Bombadil.
Well, this is the funny thing. I was reading the manga again recently.
Oh yeah, you told me about this.
And I sent you like a couple of screenshots where I was like, the Tom Bombadil of the manga. Because he shows up for like one chapter, this character who's a guy in a box. And just never again.
Can we pull up that conversation if you can find it? Because I feel like my reaction to that was pretty good.
Discord will ask me to log in on the PC on the laptop, so I'll just quickly pull it up on my phone.
Please bear with us.
How do you spell Bombadil?
Bombadil.
Bomb?
Yep, that's it. So that's what he looks like.
Oh,
and I just sent that to Shaun as the Tom Bombadil of One Piece. How I wish you remained locked in the recesses of my memory.
I've never replied to that again.
What the actual fuck am I looking at?
Fair enough.
And I just was like, that's Gaimon. He's a boxer. Which is a joke they make in the manga, by the way, so that's why.
I remember being so disgusted, but so proud as well.
Yeah. I hate to bring up a stupid inside joke I have with Manuel, because we
exposed.
We had to have an inside joke about being in a box, because we watched someone whose English was not their first language, and they had to present on a topic of choice.
Okay. And
it was like a 10-minute presentation about being in a box, but we didn't get it, and she started with, I was born in a box.
Today I wanted a box.
And it took us until the end of the presentation for us to figure out, like, oh, you mean like you were put in a box, like expectations of you. But she never mentioned that.
That's what she means?
Yes!
This was a metaphor box.
And so she kept going on and on. It's like, I tried to get out of the box. Like, we were just talking, it's in an actual box.
That sounds like a horror film.
Yes!
Yeah, exactly. Are you talking about actual box?
It took us so long to go, oh my god, you mean like yeah.
Like an ice box?
Oh my god. What?
So yeah, sometimes we would just say like, I was born in a box.
I was born in a box.
I was born in a box.
Yes.
I had to find myself. out of the box.
You nearly adopted the box. I was born in the box.
But yeah, imagine sitting in a big auditorium watching someone.
Pick that
full
up, I'll be
confidence, by the way. Full confidence. She went in. It's like, I was born in a box. What?
Just a full auditorium of people going, huh?
Yeah, but you know, because it was the entire like auditorium was full of people whose English is their second language. So you know, we're all understanding. It's like you're trying. So you're all like, yeah.
Box.
You were born in a box. You tried to get out of the box. And then at some point she went on a whole tangent about the workplace and being in a box in a workplace. Like, what?
Washed away. In a certain part of the world, there's a box people fall into.
There were just so many squares on
Very
this
occasionally.
presentation.
A man rises from that box.
All I can think is like her walking on stage and saying this, and just the full room.
Fuck, I forgot about that clap. That's a good clap.
Sorry for the tangent. I just thought it was fun.
No, that's a good tangent. I like that tangent.
I don't know how to go back.
This isn't
to what
Nat.
we were
This is
talking
Anime
about.
Lane, by the way.
Yeah, I forgot for a second. So yeah, One Piece live action is good. I recommend watching it. I'm curious how it is for like new viewers, people who have no experience with One Piece whatsoever.
It's like 8 episodes, isn't it?
Yeah, 8 episodes. The longest is like 60 minutes and the shortest is like 40. So it's like standard Netflix drama.
Yeah. I've told you already. I might end up
Yeah.
watching it at some point soonish.
I think it would be interesting because like as a good starting point, especially for the East Blue, like I said, it's a bit bloated as like a starting point. The exposition's a bit clunky, and you know, if you're watching it in the anime, the pacing is fucking painful. I don't know how great it is if like for a transitional point as well. Because they've said that the scripts for season 2 are ready. We've had no confirmation of a renewal yet, but I think considering it was
It would be great if that renewal news came out when this episode comes out.
that would be cool.
Very timely. I also can't wait for Jamie Lee Curtis to show up in it.
What?
Netflix did show that it got viewed 19 million times in the first week or two, I
Yeah,
think.
that's
Pretty
sense.
good. But
Yeah.
you know, it's also Netflix.
Yeah.
Also, we gotta give context for the Jamie Lee
Yeah,
Curtis
I
stuff.
will, don't worry. It was in the top 10 for 2 weeks in a row, so I think like
It did
I did
so
see
far
it.
it's saying performance-wise, you know, I'd say it's strongly likely for the renewal. It's probably the strikes that are holding up.
Yeah.
I'm still
Confirmation.
getting it heavily recommended to me.
Yeah. And so they've said, you know, scripts are ready and episodes could be out in 12 to 18 months as soon as the strike ends. So I think that's really solid. Like, we could get a season 2. Also, the Jamie Lee Curtis thing. Apparently, she's really into One Piece.
Oh.
And a lot of people, and I did not know that this was a thing I needed until I saw the clip, want her to play a character in season 2. I'll show you actually.
Yeah, because you showed me like the character, at least design wise, and I'd say it fits.
Oh, hell yeah.
Yeah. And she's got that sort of like cranky old woman, but like
Yeah, funny.
funny and like
Cool.
nice at heart type thing. So yeah, they're already. I just googled Dr. Kuroha, and already I'm getting.
Yeah.
You know, when someone expresses enough,
Yeah.
like, I want to fucking do this. You better get me in on this.
It's
it
like
can
everyone
happen.
wanting Adam Sandler to play fucking.
Oh, God.
Oh shit! What's the name of the character again? Aokiji? No.
And
that's the
look,
other
Adam
guy.
Sandler's a different story. He does what he wants. If he doesn't want it, it's not going to happen.
Hold on.
Let
hold on.
Lord Sadler do what he wants.
Let me check.
Which is...
That's a Resident Evil
Lee
joke.
sent me it earlier. Let me find it because we were talking about it at some point, so I should be able to find the character's name.
Your
amongst all
dream
the fucking
casts.
Yeah.
Minecraft screenshots.
Hey, that's my favorite Sega console.
Oh, Kizaru, that's it.
The
So-
Dreamcast.
So people want Adam Sandler to play
Oh.
this guy.
I can see it.
Borsellino.
Oh yeah. The admirals are weird. Some of them have like 2 different names. So his name's Borsellino, but most people call him Kizaru.
Are you sure we
He
can't
looks
just?
like aggressively Italian.
Are you sure we can't just get Batista in like a wig?
Yeah, I feel like Batista could do that.
Yeah,
Batista can do anything.
Batista is much shorter than Kizaru is. This man is fucking tall.
Wouldn't
Look
it
at
be
those
funny,
damn
though?
legs.
Like, wouldn't it be funny if he was just
On
Dave
stilts.
Batista? No, short. But they just don't mention it.
No. They constantly shoot at low angles.
Yeah.
So yeah, this is the image that's been going around. I fucking hate it.
Yeah, no. I don't know if I want Sam
That is
to do
hitting
that.
me with like 2000s internet, like
Yeah.
editing energy.
Yeah, I think it's all to do with fucking uncut gems.
Yeah, no, I don't think Sandler would be good. I see fucking Giancarlo Esposito.
Actually, you know what?
I would, yeah.
Yeah.
See, that would work. Get him to grow those sideburns out a bit. Yeah.
He was acting, or was he?
I think there's maybe other characters that like he would be more suited to play though, because like I think Kizaru is a bit more of a light-hearted, whimsical character at times.
You want him to be evil. You want
You want
Giancarlo.
him, yeah, you
But he
want him
does
to
it
be
well.
playing.
He's perfect for evil.
Yeah. Look at him. Look at him. What an evil little man.
Yeah.
I think he might be a good cast for Blackbeard.
Well, why?
No,
I wasn't going to put any
Don't-
implications there,
don't
but
bring that into it. For the love
Melina
of
let
God.
the intrusive thought win.
Oh, Blackbeard's a big
He's kind of the
boy.
main
boy.
antagonist
The
in the
Rock.
later half, and he's like proper.
The Rock.
I feel like you want
Jack Black.
a nobody.
You know what? Jack Black might also be a good way.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Jack Blackbeard.
Jack Blackbeard.
He would love it.
He would love it, and I think Blackbeard's got enough of the craziness that Jack Black could pull it off.
Yeah.
This is all like casting for stuff that's probably never going to
Never-
happen.
no.
I do not see it getting as far as Marineford, where Blackbeard gets introduced.
But guys, Danny DeVito.
Ooh.
Who would Danny DeVito would play Gaimon?
No, Danny
Oh, yeah.
DeVito's everyone. Just everyone.
Just everyone.
Yeah.
Still have
What I
Seneca
like, though,
Crane.
I think for adaptations, it's usually better get unknown people.
Yeah,
exactly.
Get people no one
Start
knows.
most of
careers.
Yeah.
I'd say most of the main crew have been nobody so far.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
Iñaki,
It's good.
Godoy, who plays Luffy. I think Makanyu, who plays Zoro, is probably like the most famous, but like I'd say he's relegated to
Yeah.
like
is it-
Asia type thing.
Yeah.
Like I'd never heard of Emily Rudd before. Taz Skylar, who plays Sanji. And I can't remember the name of the guy who plays Usopp. I'd never heard of anyone in the crew who plays the crew
But
before.
I think it's such a nice thing to do because it's easy to just throw the big bucks, get some big names on there. But because it's an adaptation, you already have an audience
Yeah.
set in. Give that spotlight to new people,
Yeah.
and instead of the same 20 people that just get recycled over
Yeah.
and over and over.
But I think once you reach the sort of point of the series that it would be at, where the characters we've been talking about would be introduced, which is in the anime episode like 400, 500.
Oh yeah, it would be a while.
I think you could do
Celebrity cameo.
celebrity
Yeah,
at that
yeah.
point, you're gonna have all the kind of unknowns solidified into the cast by that point, that I think
Exactly.
you could start bringing in some
Yeah,
heavy
yeah.
hitters, especially as the sort of like weight of the story picked up at that point.
If they get that far, that is.
Which I don't think they will, sadly. We're gonna have to have realistic expectations on that front,
Yeah.
because realistically at any point this adaptation can shit the bed.
Yeah,
absolutely.
That's the risk you run. Yeah.
It can easily do it in season 2 if it adapts all of the Alabasta stuff. It could even more so do it in Skypiea in season 3, because arguably that's going to be one of the hardest story arcs to adapt, because it's all set on a bunch of islands in the sky.
Ah, cool.
So yeah, and already it's not like the strongest story arc.
yeah.
So yeah.
Yeah.
But who's Willem Dafoe gonna play?
Bonkadonk.
I'll post.
Yeah, post it.
Who would Willem Dafoe play?
God.
Well, the funny thing about the
Oh.
story arc of season 3
Fuck.
is there's a guy who actually claims to be God.
Oh, William
He's
Dafoe.
not.
Bam.
Claims, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was perfect William Dafoe.
I mean, I can do that too, but I'm not.
This is NL or Eneru. He's the main antagonist of.
It's William
What is
Dafoe if
that?
I've ever seen him.
Look at that fucking face.
Oh yeah.
That's Willem Dafoe right there.
Absolutely.
Can't even
He's seen
remember
the face
why
of God.
Oh yeah.
Can't even remember the context for that clip. No idea.
It's a
No
remake.
idea.
Yeah, that one's from the episode of Skypea TV special
Okay.
where they recapped.
Okay. Defoe. How long have we been talking
I
already?
actually have no idea. 47 minutes about One Piece and Armored Core.
Yeah, worth it.
Christ.
Happy spooky man.
Happy spooky man.
We said we're gonna have a Halloween special and that's gonna be it. So you know.
Yeah.
You just couldn't think of an idea.
No, I couldn't. And did you really want to watch another 2 movies?
No.
Exactly. I don't really think I've got anything else that I've been up to recently, anime and manga wise.
Same.
Yes.
I mean, fucking nobody listening to this has the expectations that either of you.
I might. I don't know.
But you haven't yet. You keep
No.
saying you might. But you
I'm
never
on the
have.
cusp. I'm not quite there. I'm not taking the
You're
plunge.
on the edge.
I haven't taken the plunge yet.
You're on the diving board, just staring down into the abyss.
Yeah. I'm still in my like entry sort of VTuber obsession stage.
Maybe
I'm on the
it'll
diving board
transition.
now.
Yeah.
I'm the unstoppable force and Melina's the immovable object, apparently.
Correct.
You're at the start of the diving board and I'm just...
I'm just caught in
refusing-
between
nah,
you two.
Nah, I'm not climbing up there. Nah, absolutely not.
No.
Just no.
Just no.
Look, I've read my little Perfect Blue book. I haven't finished it yet,
Oh,
but
nice.
over halfway done.
Nice. The other copy actually arrived.
Hey.
It came in on the last day before I could claim a refund.
Oh,
Oof.
well.
Which, you know,
Thanks.
fuck them, honestly.
Yeah.
So yeah, I need to get around to reading that actually. I did read Ring, the book that The Ring is based on. That was really good. Though it's not really a horror movie a horror novel, it's more of like a mystery novel.
Yeah, I remember you saying that.
Yeah, because I basically talked to you like throughout my entire reading of it.
Yeah. It was interesting.
Yeah, because like in the
It was like the perfect way to experience horror for me, which is like, you know, one sort of like wall
This happened.
in between.
That's good.
yeah. Because in the book it's like there's less presence from. Is it Samara in the American version? Sadako in the
Ghost
Japanese
girl.
version? The ghost girl, yeah. There's less presence from her. They don't find out about her until the last third of the book.
I mean, it makes sense.
Oh
Yeah.
shit, there's a ghost girl.
They kind of find out about her and they're like, I wonder what relevance she has to this, because
I wonder who that's
she would be dead by now. And then they do indeed find out she was dead, and they find out that she was fell down a well. She was murdered and was thrown down a well, and then
Wow.
infected the videotape. The
Wednesdays, am I right?
the one thing that I think the film, both versions of the Japanese and American version, is that apparently, what is the disease that we managed to like fully eradicate around the sort of 70s?
Smallpox.
I think it was smallpox.
It was smallpox, yeah. It has to be. We definitely eradicated smallpox at some point.
Yeah, so I think it was smallpox. Basically, on like the cusp of eradicating it entirely, there's like this rural hospital in Japan that had been like a smallpox or measles facility or something like that, and it was like in the process of being converted into like a normal hospital. Yeah. And she kind of goes there, and apparently one of the doctors there had smallpox and was like exhibiting some symptoms, but because we had, you know, basically almost eradicated it, everyone had the
vaccine.
The vaccine.
Yeah.
I love you.
You don't need to censor the word vaccine.
I couldn't think of the word vaccine.
We're all pro-vax here. Get vaccinated.
So because he had the vaccine and everything like that, he only really had like some light kind of like feverish symptoms.
You know, an adult with a good immune system.
Exactly. Yeah.
So she's like there, I think, visiting her like paralyzed and like whatever father. He's like not, you know, compos mentis essentially. And she's like sitting out, you know, out in the mountains, nice view. She's just experiencing it, and like this doctor rocks up and just starts talking to her, and like apparently again this comes back to what we were talking about earlier, or would not have been talked about yet, but in the Wicked City, Demon City episode, he describes being overcome with this like carnal desire for her.
Okay.
Which a couple people have described feeling towards her because apparently she's like supernatural or something like that. Fuck knows. He has smallpox. He rapes her and then kind of tries to kill her, but doesn't succeed, and then throws her down a well, and so she like slowly dies at the bottom of the well. But apparently because she is so supernatural and had smallpox, she created a new supernatural evolution of smallpox that inhabits a VHS tape.
Biohazard. Resident Evil.
The fuck?
Yeah.
I know things about the Ring. I did not know that, and I would have never fucking guessed.
I think this may only come up in the second book, Spiral.
You guys can keep talking, by the way. I really need to go to the toilet.
Okay, cool.
Sorry to do this during the episode,
no,
but
no.
I had to.
So and at the end of Ring, the book, they discover, she's been at the bottom of this well, blah blah blah. So they think, if we exhume her remains from there and give her like a proper burial, put her at peace or whatever, things will stop. No, they have to pass the tape on to someone else. So they need to make someone else watch it to then free themselves from the virus or cure themselves from the virus or whatever.
Yeah.
They do in the first book describe it as like a new virus.
Yeah.
And so, they try to pass it on, blah blah blah. And then it's only in the second book, which is about like a coronary examiner. He is examining the body of one of the main characters from the first book who dies, and like finds like a bit of skin that looks like it had smallpox on it, and so he sends that to get examined. It turns out that some of the other bodies had the same thing, and so they start examining it, and then they find out it is indeed actually smallpox, or like what you would have as a symptom of smallpox. And so then they find out, you kind of put the pieces together as like a reader that, okay, she's like supernatural smallpox, and then
honestly anticlimactic. I was
a
like,
little
really?
bit.
Smallpox?
The third book,
Thought we were past this.
well, the third book changes it up even further. I haven't got to Loop yet, but Loop apparently is basically the first two books happen in some sort of computer simulation, and is a virus on this person's computer. And I'm like, look, I know you want to continue on with the theme of viruses, but
let it go.
Yeah.
Like, it's not working anymore. I don't want it. Just get rid of it.
So safe to say, Loop hasn't really been adapted in any way.
Fair.
Yeah.
Understandable. Yeah. Can't wait for some, like, student to be like, this is it. This is my moment.
I'm back. What I miss?
Just talked about the Ring books.
Yeah, I explained how Sadako's spirit is like supernatural smallpox, and then I explained that like
it helps that you have told me this before.
Yeah.
Did I explain how Loop is like totally strange?
I think you did actually.
Yeah. So like it basically, I haven't read it. I mentioned that before. I haven't got to Loop yet. I'm like halfway through Spiral. And Loop is basically that like everything happened inside like some simulation on the guy's computer, and like the computer now has like a virus.
Okay, I think I might have. You didn't explain that to me. I would have remembered that.
Yeah. So that's
nice.
Yeah.
That's neat.
And as I said to Melina, you can probably guess that Loop has never been adapted yet.
What? No. I thought it was VR Troopers.
They adapted one of the short stories from the short story collection, but not Loop, which makes sense.
Yeah, fair.
Sometimes there's just other stuff that needs adapting.
Yeah.
They're like, what about this one?
Well, what if we try this instead?
Or it doesn't Stephen King let just anyone buy licenses to make his stuff for like $1?
So he hates like every adaptation that's ever been made of his.
So he doesn't care anymore.
Yeah, I read about, maybe I'm mixing it up, but there's some writer, I think Stephen King, who's like, yeah, pay me $1, you have the royalties, go make it. Whatever.
Well, shit.
This has nothing to do with like anime, but like I love just to
adaptation.
go with like the Stephen King thing. I love that like he hates every adaptation that's been made of like his stuff, but every time he makes his own adaptations of like his stuff, or like a TV special or whatever, it's always shit.
Yeah.
Like there was a version of The Shining that was like a TV miniseries sort of thing that I think he oversaw on some level. and it's shit.
Yeah.
Boys got shit taste.
Yeah. And then there was fucking Maximum Overdrive.
Oh, don't talk about Maximum Overdrive.
Happy Halloween.
The thing with Stephen King books is that at some point all of them just start becoming the same thing.
Yeah,
they all
I
have
mean,
the same setup.
They're all stories from 50s-esque Maine.
Yeah, some washed up writers now moved back to Maine.
Huh, what could this possibly
There's a lot
come
of description of the towns in Maine.
Maine.
The sun is setting over Maine. Everything seems normal in Maine.
I know so much more about Maine from these fucking books and stories than I do about anything from actual Maine.
Yeah, I know more about Maine from the half of Salem's Lot that I read, and nothing about what Salem's Lot is actually about.
Maine. Home of Stephen King, and that's about it.
Every single Stephen King book I've tried to read, I've just given up on.
That's fair.
I haven't even tried.
They all
fair.
basically start with half of the book being about this town and the description
Just
of the people in
overly
the town.
descriptive.
Yeah,
It's a town like every other town where we have the weatherman.
We had
It's,
the
postman.
it's the small towns that are being slowly, bypassed by city civilization. All that
Big
bullshit.
corporations.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
being taken over by some
We have
sort
to make
of
a
supernatural
mall.
shit.
We must get the mall.
Everybody knows
Oh.
everybody.
Yeah. You can always ask a
Hometown
neighbor for an egg.
miracle.
Yeah.
In Maine.
In Maine.
Maine.
God.
Blame the Maine on Spain.
So yeah, went a little off track there.
Anime. This is the anime
This
show.
is the anime show. I got nothing else really in
No.
terms of that. I've been on a bit of a slump this year, really, outside of like watching stuff for the podcast.
Yeah. Work, am I right?
Yeah. I might actually put it down to all the video games I've been playing.
I feel like that's probably more accurate.
Yeah. So yeah. I think we're just gonna
think
end
that's
this
all,
here. I think
yeah.
there's nothing else really I can bring up or talk about that isn't gonna
It was
take.
a good conversation.
Yeah.
Spook month.
Yeah.
We got some spooks in there at the end.
Yeah. Check out One Piece on Netflix. I don't think you
Yeah.
need me to tell you that, but
No,
I
also-
probably will.
Yeah. Also
I
check
probably
out
won't.
Armored Core 6. You probably will. You don't have a way to play it.
Correct.
I'd actually love to see you try and play the game, like knowing how difficult it is. Well, that would be an interesting experience.
No, I'll tell you what happens. I'll try it for 5 minutes and then stop.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, sounds like me.
The first mission immediately has a boss fight that's like there to weed out the people who just aren't gonna even try.
Oh my god, it's me.
Oh shit, that me.
So yeah, thank you for listening to this. There'll be stuff on screen. You can go down into the comments and
Hit
let us
the
know what you
bell.
think. You
Bell.
can subscribe, do whatever. And yeah, we'll see you next week with the Halloween special.
How exciting.
Not next week, in 2 weeks.
2 weeks.
Same difference.
Whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
Bye.
Bye.